So I switched from the laptop back to the mobile because nobody was seeing this live on the laptop. And if you want to support my channel, it's just paypal.me/Pike, capital E, lowercase I-K-E, capital A, at paypal.me. Or www.paypal.me/Pike A, rather. So we're reading from Institutes of Christian Perfection of Macarius the Egyptian, called the Great. Patience and Discernment. And you can get this book at bigwhitestar.com, along with several other amazing, wonderful books, including and highly recommend Youth of the Apocalypse. It's an absolutely wonderful book that you should read. It's a must read. There who are desirous to obey the word of God and to bring forth its good fruits are usually accompanied with these outward signs, sighs, tears, dejection of countenance, quietness, silence, stillness, profound grief, labor of the heart for the cause of religion, and at the same time with these works, watching, fasting, temperance, meekness, long-suffering, continual prayer, meditation of the divine writings, faith, humility, brotherly love, submission, labor, patience of evil, charity, good nature, modesty, and all that light which is Christ. But those who do not bring forth the fruits of life have these signs: wearisomeness, irregularity, looking about, idleness, discontent, levity, and their works are these: intemperance, anger, vehemence, calumny, arrogance, unseasonable discourse, unbelief, inconstancy, forgetfulness, tumult, base pursuit of gain, love of money, envy, contention, scorn, garrulity, immoderate laughter, willfulness, and all that darkness which is Satan. According to the divine economy, the evil one is not consigned at once to the place of punishment allotted to him, but is permitted to be at large for the trial and probation of them, that he may, contrary to his own design, render the saints more righteous through patience, and become the cause of greater glory to them. And on the other hand, that through his love of wickedness and his malignant machinations against the saints, he may render more signal the justice of his own punishment, as the divine apostle has said, that sin may become superlatively sinful. When the enemy deceived Adam, and by that deceit obtained the mastery over him, he stripped him of the authority which he had before possessed, so became himself entitled, the prime of this world. For at the beginning man was appointed by the Lord, the prince of this world and Lord of all visible things, for neither could fire prevail against him, nor water overwhelm him, nor the wild beasts injure him, nor poison work effect upon him. But when he yielded himself to seduction, he surrendered up his principality to him who seduced him, on which account, by the permission of God, magicians and sorcerers have been seen to perform many wonderful things through the cooperation of the adversary, subduing poisonous animals and defying the powers of fire and water, as Jannes and Jambres, who withstood Moses, and as Simon, who resisted Peter, the chief of the apostles. I conceive that when the enemy saw the primitive glory of Adam shine again in the face of Moses, he was powerfully smitten by it. As for warning him of the downfall of his own kingdom, there is nothing that forbids us thus to apply what is said by the apostle, that death reigned from Adam to Moses, for I imagine that the glorified face of Moses bore a form or resemblance of the first man, as he was made by the hands of God, which when it was seen by death, that is, by the cause of death, the devil, became to him a testimony that he should eventually suffer that overthrow from the Lord. With a similar glory, those who are truly and really Christians are even now inwardly invested, and the inward death, that is, the corrupt and sinful passions, is so entirely extinguished in them as to have no power over them, through the glory of the Spirit shining in their souls in full experience and consciousness. After the enemy had deceived Adam by the woman as an agent of the like nature with himself, he caused the glory which had surrounded him to disappear, and then he first discovered his own shame, which before he had not perceived, because his mind was wholly engaged with heavenly beauties and excellencies. But after his transgression, his thoughts became abject and earthly, and his inclination, which before was simple and good, became implicated with a carnal and evil inclination. And when we read that paradise was shut against him, and that fiery sword and the cherubim prevented him from approaching it, though we are to believe that all these things truly happened as is written, yet is the same accomplished also in a hidden manner in the soul, for the cloud of darkness which arises from the fire of the spirit of this world envelopes and veils the heart, obstructing the mind from approaching to God, and not suffering the soul to pray with God or to believe in him or to love him as it would wish. All which things experience teaches to those who sincerely commit themselves to the Lord with resolute perseverance in prayer and with a vigorous resistance of the adversary. The prince of this world is a rod of discipline, a scourge, chastising those who are infants in spirit, and preparing for them by means of afflictions and temptations, as it has been said, a greater glory and a richer honor. For by these it is effected that they are rendered perfect, while at the same time he provides for himself a fuller and heavier judgment. And truly a great economy is carried on through him, evil as it is somewhere said, cooperating with good, though not with a good intent, for to righteous souls and to those whose hearts are upright, the things which appear to be afflictive end in good, according to that which is said by the apostle, all things work together for good to those who love God. Wherefore that rod of discipline is permitted, that those who are approved may, like vessels hardened in the fire, be more strongly confirmed, and that the fragility of those that cannot stand the proof may be manifested. For he, being only a servant and the property of a master, does not inflict trials as he himself chooses, nor impose afflictions according to the rule of his own will, but only so far as the will of the master approves and permits, who, knowing accurately the circumstances of every one, and the power which each possesses, suffers the proof to be applied only in proportion to that power. As the apostle also declares, God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tried above that which ye are able to bear, but will with the trial also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to endure it. He who seeks and knocks according to the word of the Lord, and who asks until the end, obtains the things which he has asked. But he must have boldness and perseverance to seek unceasingly, both with mind and tongue, and to persist in bodily worship without giving way, neither entangled by worldly intricacies nor consenting in any degree to his evil passions. For he is true who said, all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. But those who say, though a man should perform all that is commanded him, and yet with all his perseverance should not obtain grace, it profits him nothing in this life, are ignorant and speak in contradiction to the divine scriptures. For God is not unjust, that when we perform the things which he behooves us to do, he should fail in that which pertains to himself. Only let it be by only let it be thy constant care that when thy soul shall be released from the conflict of this body, thou mayest be found contending, pressing forward, looking for the promise with perseverance and faith, and seeking with intelligence and discernment. And I tell thee, and do not thou mistrust, thou shalt depart in joy and confidence, and shalt be accounted worthy of the kingdom. And truly such a one is, by his faith and the pious direction of his mind, already in some degree in communion with God. Whereas he who looketh upon a woman to desire her has already committed adultery with her in his heart, and though his body has not been defiled, he is yet accounted to have been guilty of adultery. So also he who, expelling all evil from his heart, cleaves to the Lord in desire and pursuit, with a steady and holy affection, is even now, as it were, in a union with God, and obtains immediately this great privilege, that he is able to preserve in prayer with good purpose and a virtuous life. For if the gift of a cup of cold water is not without a reward, how much more shall God give the things which he himself has promised to those who day and night dedicate themselves to him in prayer? To those who doubtingly and anxiously inquire, will the day never arrive when I shall cease to be sensible of hatred, or to be conscious of some other evil affliction? We must thus reply, it must be every man's continual effort and study. Resist the evil one and all evil thoughts, for it is not possible but that the darkness of the passions and the deadly inclinations of the flesh should sometimes manifest some evil fruit, either secretly or openly. For as it is impossible that a bodily wound, though it be dressed and receive every care of which it stands in need, should not discharge some corrupt humors until it be thoroughly healed. But if it be neglected, it generates corruption and causes the destruction of the whole body. So it is with the passions of the soul, which, whatever care be applied to them, still continue festering and rankling within. Nevertheless, by the perseverance of care and with the grace and cooperation of Christ, they at length obtain a perfect cure. For there is a certain secret foulness and excessive blackness of the passions, contrary to the original purity of our nature, which from the transgression of Adam has spread itself throughout the whole human race, polluting and corrupting both the body and the soul. But as iron becomes pure by being burned and beaten, as gold mixed with brass can only be separated by fire, so also the soul, through the immaculate sufferings of the Savior, being burned, as it were, and beaten by the good Spirit, becomes at length purified from all its evil passions and from all its sins. As when several lamps are lighted with the same oil and the same fire, all do not always give forth their light in the same measure. So the graces of the different virtues derive different degrees of splendor from one and the same good Spirit. And as of many who inhabit one and the same city, and partake of the same bread and the same water, some are men and some are infants, some are youths and some are aged, or as corn sown in one and the same field brings forth various and diverse ears, yet all are brought to the same threshing floor, are laid up in the same granary. So understand that in the resurrection of the dead there will be diversity of glory in those that shall be raised, who shall be distinguished according to the worthiness of their obedience, and according to the measure in which the divine Spirit shall have dwelt within them here. And this is signified by that which is said, one star differeth from another star in glory. Only let everyone take a special care that when he has been born again of the Spirit, he thoroughly wash out the inward sin, for that new birth of the Spirit bears indeed a certain image of perfection in form and parts, though not in power, intelligence, and vigor. But he who has attained to perfect manhood and of the full measure of growth renounces the things of childhood. And this is what the apostle has signified: whether there be tongues or prophecies, they shall cease. As therefore he who has become a man no longer receives either the food or the discourse which is suited to a child, but rejects them with disdain as having passed on to another stage of life. So likewise he who has attained to the full measure of evangelical perfection, and who has advanced his spiritual infancy to the perfection of growth. For says the apostle, when I became a man, I put away childish things. So I think I'll be on just a little bit later. I'm going to take a quick break, hydrate, think of what else I want to read. God bless you, brothers and sisters, and thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back a little bit later. Pucka pucka.